Hello, this is J Carey. Welcome to Tribe of Hackers Pandemic Response. First of all, I'm going to introduce my buddy Jayson Street. Jayson.
How's it going, Marcus? It's great to see you again. How you doing?
And my brother, Mr. Jeff Mann.
Hey, Marcus. Hey, Jayson. It's good to virtually see both of you guys. I miss both of you.
Virtual hugs.
Yeah,
virtual hugs.
Virtual awkward hugs.
Yep. We would be in Vegas right now, probably, or close to being in Vegas, and we'd be hugging it out. But now, because of the pandemic, we're going to be talking, and I'm going to be asking y'all some questions about how has the pandemic affected cybersecurity in your sphere. So the first thing I want to know is how has this affected blue teamers? And I know you'll talk to blue teamers. Y'all do red and blue stuff. How has this affected blue team operations during the pandemic?
Jeff, you want to respond? I can respond a little bit on that as well. It's like
go ahead and start, Jayson.
I think with the blue team, it's like it's changed the dynamics of how the workforce is relating, because it's like blue teamers are working on IDSs. Their perimeter, which is it's about time actually, where we've had this nonsensical notion that our defenses were perimeter, and then everything on the inside was what we needed to keep secure. And once it was in that perimeter, it was secure. Well, I think that notion has finally been blown out of the water, because everybody's perimeter is gone now because they've got employees working from home. It's like, working on different devices. It's like working on hostile networks. And I'm like, your network was always hostile. It's like, but now you have no choice but to admit it and face it. And now start hardening the endpoints, start hardening the client machines, start hardening your work from home users. And then once we get those secured and get those like working securely, start securing your internal network against your endpoint users and protecting them in the same way once they come back within that perimeter. So I think that's one of the biggest things that we've changed, is the dynamic and the notion that that perimeter is involatile. It's like we got the firewall, and all the traffic shows that differentiates between the firewall, internal, external. It's like, that's it. It's like, and we're good. And you put in a allow list and you put in a deny list, and it's like you're safe.
Yeah.
No, not going to happen.
Certainly. And so, Jeff, you have anything to add to that?
Well, yeah. I mean, I'm approaching this from a slightly different perspective, in that what I do mostly these days is consulting advisory work. We have a little tradition on Security Weekly. When I say PCI, everybody's supposed to drink, and I apologize, I don't have a drink in hand. But we're doing things that used to be on-site assessments, on-site evaluations of networks, deployments, the whole 9 yards, everything in terms of network IT operations as it pertains to credit card transactions. We're doing most of that virtually now, which sucks. It's not that we're not getting to break into things, and I agree with everything Jayson was saying about how the world has turned upside down in terms of sort of the attack paradigms and the defense paradigms, whether we believed them or not from the old days. But what's really changing from the perspective of where I'm coming from, consulting advisory work, is the challenge for me of trying to do what I do best, which is educate, teach, help people to understand why security matters, why it matters to them, how PCI helps them to be more secure if they let it, and sort of walking them through. I am much more comfortable being face-to-face with people, trying to explain to them, telling all sorts of war stories, telling stories about what people like Jayson can do to them, and of course bad guys too, and doing that virtually over a Zoom or whatever conference, Zoom, Google. I'm not trying to give props to any one of them. It's just hard, because I miss being interactive in person with people, and getting them to understand where they need to be.
Yeah, and one of the things I want to add to that is, what's weird about the situation is that some people some companies weren't prepared, didn't have laptops for everybody. So in addition to having that situation, you have people using their home PCs to do corporate work, and that's kind of like scary. It's definitely in the PCI realm, for sure. So Jayson, well, actually, I'm going to ask Jeff this question first. So from a red, well, it's kind of a red team question. So I'll just leave it up in the air. And Jeff's old school red team, I'll just throw the meat to the dogs and let whoever get it. All right. So how's this affected red team operations from that standpoint? Because it's definitely affected the blue side. How's it affected red team?
Well, I will jump in and go first. We have a red team as part of my company, Online Business Systems. What it has done is dramatically increase the attack footprint. The possibilities now are nearly endless. I mean, you kind of chuckled and alluded to people are now using their home laptops, their home networks. I mean, I've been working from home for over 20 years, so it's nothing new for me. I've been using my home laptop for work forever, and my home network. But for those that were not always doing that, just not having the infrastructure in place, not having the types of tools available to more people, more employees that create secure connections that try to protect the local devices. And in some ways, let me flip it that a little bit. In some ways, it hasn't changed a whole lot because so many companies have been going to infrastructure in the cloud and using things like Office 365. And, when I was a red teamer, many years ago, we would actually try to break into a mail server. Now it's in the cloud. Now it's Google is protecting it, or Microsoft is protecting it, or whomever. So some things have changed and some haven't, but there's certainly an opportunity to do a lot more evil these days with so many more people working from home. Not that didn't exist before. You've just got so many more targets of opportunity that didn't used to be working from home, and I think that's the biggest difference.
Yeah, interesting.
Mine is,
Jayson.
well, I specialize more on physical compromise, so I'm telling you, self-quarantining has been hard on someone right here. It's like, I mean, my daughter's caught me breaking into my own house 3 different times. I mean, she didn't catch me the other 4, but she caught me 3 times already. I mean, what's a red teamer do? Got to break into your own house. It's like, it's hard out there. But in all seriousness, I think the pandemic is definitely going to be there's going to be an impact on this for the next year. I'm totally comfortable and okay next year wearing a mask, going into an office building with some kind of weird device and some biohazard bags and saying that I'm doing a sweep and stuff to make sure that there's air particles, or checking to make sure that there's no spread into diseases, or like, I mean, you look at it like, well, that's horrible. You can't, abuse you. It's like sending an email, a spear phishing email to someone about their COVID-19 results. It's like, those are all horrible things. And I'm like, yeah, because you know why? I don't care if you're PCI compliant. I don't care if you're doing Sarbanes-Oxley or Graham-Leach-Lively or whatever, Simon and Garfunkel, whatever regulation you've got trying to back you up. I don't care. I'm there to rob you. I'm the bad guy. After the tsunami hit Southeast Asia, 100,000 people dead. It's like the scam websites were up before the Red Cross got there. It's like criminals are going to crime. It's like they don't have morals. They don't have like standings. They've established their moral ethics and their level of what they're planning on because they're trying to steal money from you. So an attacker and a true person that's trying to do and teach what a real world scenario is going to be like has to do something. I mean, I've got limits because I am actually a good guy. So I'm not going to totally say your test results came back positive or you quarantine immediately or something horrible or horrendous that's going to cause pain or stress or suffering on someone. But it's like, but when you're doing things like trying to get in or trying to break in, you have to show and give them those kind of examples and scenarios. Even if you don't execute them, you have to let the clients know that those things are out there and they are being used right now they're being used right now by criminals to attack people.
Certainly. And one of the things, and I want to echo, I agree with everything y'all are saying. One of the things you mentioned, Jeff, about how nowadays that everybody's moving towards the cloud. I kind of think, in a way, that from a technology perspective, we were many jobs like were prepared to work from home from that tech perspective. Would you agree?
I would agree in the context of there was a lot of infrastructure in place already to enable remote working. I mean, people were already doing stuff probably from their home laptops, or more likely their smart devices, which often are their own devices. What concerns me as an old school security professional is we continue to ignore process and people understanding and following rules and doing things a certain way. And the more we rely on technology to solve the problem, in my opinion, and it's an aging opinion, I acknowledge that, we continue to miss the point. Hopefully that somebody will spin this whole crisis and at least from a cybersecurity perspective, in trying to address all the new way of doing business. They'll try to take more of a focus on some of the process things and assuring that people are doing the right things, not just implementing the right technologies. I'm sure Jayson has had experience with breaking into organizations that had all the right technology, but something more likely process failed them.
Definitely. I mean, sorry.
Yeah, no. So, Jason, I just wanted to follow up with that and ask you, like, so the physical aspect of having data in one place, and you being able to you having to do that. I guess that there's a lot of businesses shutting down. It kind of changes that landscape a lot. What do you think that landscape's going to look like from companies and data? And is it going to be all over the place? Or are you still going to be breaking into banks and whatnot? What's going on?
Well, I plan to always keep robbing banks. It's like, I mean, with their permission, of course. It's like, but I think it's still, you're going to have servers in server rooms. It's like in businesses and headquarters. You're going to still have on-site machines. It's like, I mean, those buildings aren't going away. The way my headquarters, Superior Wise in New York, and they're opening up and they're staggering when people come in. They have pathways, they've limited space, but they're there. It's like, because that's just, I mean, you got all those big buildings. I mean, you got to use them, right? It's like, so I see, and also, I mean, my whole thing is about human nature. It's like, once the vaccine comes out, human nature is going to resort back to wanting to be in the collective, wanting to have everything close together.
Yeah, 100%. I agree. And so I think that once this whole situation is over with and we're running short on time, I got to wrap it up here real quick. I think a couple of things are going to happen. I think that at the end of the day, we're going to have to figure out how to communicate better from a network perspective. I mean, look at some of these offices had tons of bandwidth, tons of seating, tons of licenses, and all these different things to be secure. So I don't think as many people are going to go back to work at the end of the day, and we're going to have to think about security a little bit different going forward.
Definitely.
All right, hey, I appreciate y'all for coming through and joining me for this quick discussion. Thanks, Jeff. Really appreciate you, Jayson.
Sure.
Love you too, man. Y'all take care and have a good one. Stay safe.
Thank you. Y'all take care.